Hello and welcome to the Outcast. I'm your host HC, and with me is.
Wolf.
And today we are going ghost yet again with Danny Phantom season 2, aka the peak of the show when you really look at it. Like, I think most people who watch the show, either if they are big fans or not, there seems to be an agreement that season 2 is the best one.
I think I'm gonna be a contrarian here and say there's a lot of season two I love. I still think I need to go back and watch it again when we cover season three. I assume we will be. Uh, this would have been us covering season three this week, but someone cough me had to go and get sick and just did not feel like doing anything last week.
Well, what can you do?
No fair, but I there's things about season three that I think I like a little bit more than season two. Namely, I kind of like how season three is a bit is less episodic, in my opinion.
Well, we'll get to season 3 in
Well,
2 weeks,
I think we
but
should talk about why that's the case real quick, right?
yeah, hit me.
Well, I think the reason why that's the case is season two came out in about two. Season two of Danny Phantom came out about 2005, right? What else
Yeah,
came out that same year, but just a little bit before season two of Danny Phantom? And
Avatar.
Yep. And changed up, I would argue, changed up the game for especially Western cartoons, right?
Yeah, I think we talked about it in the season 1, the episode 2, that Danny Phantom is what kind of started the fact that American cartoons started having a bit more continuity. Like, you could watch each episode whenever, but
But
there
even
was
Danny Phantom was
continuity.
still episodic
Yeah.
more often than not. And I think like
Yeah,
then
but what
ATLA
which
came
is
out.
what I said, it started. It
Yeah.
wasn't quite there, but it started it.
But
It
then
was like
yeah,
it was
go
a
on.
step.
Yeah. And then ATLA came out and even for like you can see it and I feel you can see it in season three of Danny Phantom right the most where okay, ATLA came out, really changed up the game and now we need to be a little bit more like structured story wise and everything as well and not as episodic as we have been.
True.
But yeah,
But
but
but in a way, season two still included some big some big things that would remain with us for the rest of the show, like Danny's emblem, which we will get to, and also again, we're not really going to say anything about spoilers because this show is really old.
I would
So
argue definitely one of the best two parters
yeah,
in my
I,
opinion.
I would even argue one of the best episodes in the show. Period. But
Fair.
and so there were some things which impacted the status quo in this show and in this season. And there are also a lot of great episodes just in general. There are some that are not as great, but but overall, season 2 seems to be like that moment where like Danny Phantom showed that it was here and it was here to stay until Nickelodeon canceled it.
It was here to stay. Oh wait, never mind. No, it wasn't.
Yeah, because I think it was around because I think around the time that season 2 was airing, they were like, okay, there's going to be a season 3, and then it's
That's
done.
it.
Mhm. But again, we are gonna talk about season 3 and the cancellation and everything when we cover season 3, but maybe also
Hmm.
at the end of this road. But for now, I guess we can just start getting into it with the first episode of the show, Memory Blank. So, believe it or not, this episode wasn't made just to get the emblem on Danny, surprisingly enough.
Sure.
No, I'm
No, I
serious.
know. I know.
But apparently, Nickelodeon really wanted Danny to have a logo
Yep.
so that, they could put it on toys and everything. So they're like, hey, give him a logo. And then the writing team was just like, hey, we have this episode where he kind of needs to repeat the accident which gave him the powers. Might as well just put him on him now. And there you go. Now Now he has the emblem, which, to be honest, I like the emblem. I
No,
like this
it's
little
fine.
logo, but
It works. It's good. I think it's good for Danny Phantom, right? Like it definitely stands out, and like everyone
by the
remembers the
top.
D.
Yeah. But here's the thing, it
Yeah.
took me years to understand that the reason that the D is not closed so that the inside could make a P, as in DP,
Yep.
and now I can't unsee it. Like, it, and to be honest, I'm not sure if they even planned on it. I think it was just a coincidence. But hey,
Mm,
it works. I like this logo. It's a cool little thing. But I will never forget. Also, did you know that Sam putting the logo on him was actually a controversial move?
really, I did not know.
And because it's like, hey, there's this kid who technically just met you, and you tell him, hey, you need to go into your parents' ghost portal. I'm just going to put this logo onto you for no reason. So people were actually a bit like, Sam is acting kind of bitchy for this, and I'm like, I don't think you're supposed to read too much into that. It was just a way. Okay, we need to put it to give him a logo. There you go. We gave him a logo. Don't overthink it.
Fair. I can see why people would be upset about it, right? Because like I get it, but at the same time, I agree with you. Like, it's one of those things of like they just wanted a logo, and it's like, well, we got to appease Nickelodeon, so here's your logo, and this is how we're gonna give it to him. Job done. Wipes hands, moves on.
To be honest, besides that, I think it's an okay opener, especially
It's fine for
especially.
yeah. It's like I would say season two, bit of a slow start, but once it gets going, right?
But I kind of like that. You know what? We get to get Desiree again, and she's still a fun villain. The last time she gets a speaking role too.
Mm.
So that it's nice to see her again. Oh, but also bit of a continuity retcon when Danny points out that all the bad stuff that Sam did. It's like, so we said we should make the menu all also recycle vegetarian. Okay, fair point. That's on Sam. We should let the gorilla out. Okay, yeah, that was also Sam. We should sell all of your dead stuff in a garage sale. Danny, no, that was you. What are you talking about?
No, no, that was totally Sam.
No, it was Danny.
No, no, it was totally Sam.
I know you're joking, but no. so that was something. And also I do enjoy the fact that without his powers, Danny and Tucker literally have nothing to do until college. They just gonna wing life, because there's the point where they go, so what are we doing and what do you want to do tomorrow? I don't know. We're basically free every night until college.
Mm-hmm,
There's
mm-hmm.
it's little details like that sometimes can get you the most. So I enjoy that. And uh, and also there's a line I really like when Sam is trying to get Danny's attention in this alternate reality, and you just hear Paulina go, "She gave up her individuality for a boy. I'm so proud of her." I don't know why it gets me. It's so stupid, but it works.
Fair. Excuse me. Yeah, no, fair. I agree. It's a fun one.
And of course, I also enjoy when in this again, and after he gets his powers again, he just goes, "I'm going to become ghostly," and Sam goes, "It's going ghost," and he's like, "Nah, no, it's lame, no." I, you can tell, obviously it's a meta humor thing, but I don't know, fun. I
Oh
enjoy
yeah.
that, and also when he gets his memories back, w- how many times did he actually go to the girls' locker room? Because it shows up twice. So one's gonna wonder.
That's the
well,
show showing its age though too.
well, to be honest, though, I understand it was just kind of a joke because he's a teenager. If you were able to turn invisible as a teenager, what would you do with these kinds of powers? So I get it.
I that's not something that's going to like. I get it
It
as a
not
joke, but
age
it's
well.
yeah, it doesn't age well, and it's not something that's gonna fly. If you can't do something like that today,
Yeah, no, today no way. But for the time I get it was just
and
like
to be
teenagers,
fair, we shouldn't have been
teenage.
doing it back then either.
Yeah, but I get though the mindset of it's a teenager. Teenagers are horny. Might as well.
No, fair. I get it. We should just like state like, yeah, it's not a good joke. We shouldn't have been making them back then. I get why we
Mhm,
did it, but definitely shouldn't have. And yeah,
mhm. Well, but again, fine enough starter to end. But then the episode afterwards, Doctor's Disorders. I think this is a really good one. I really enjoyed that episode,
I think this is
especially
definitely
because
stronger than episode one. Yeah.
yeah, and I think it also because it also plays into. I think a lot of people have a fear of hospitals, from what I know. So I think it did play into something that does exist. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And though, to be honest, after watching it right after Memory Blank, all I can think of is that probably going into this episode, the animators are probably just like, "Oh fuck! Now we need to animate this stupid D and realize what it's gonna look like in all of these different angles." They got extra woke, but that's just me.
Mm-hmm.
But otherwise, I enjoyed the prospect of all the other kids getting ghost abilities, and especially like there's Quan who gets like the ability Vlad has to duplicate himself, and then he's like, "You kidding me? I'm been trying to do this for months, and and he can just do it." It's a That's a funny bit, and I just enjoy again the idea of yeah, what if if there was a hospital just for sick teenagers who don't like hospitals. Like that is a kind of a scary but also kind of a funny idea. I enjoy that. And and then Spectra comes back. Spectra is fun. I don't think she's utilized as much as she could be, but it's good to see her when she shows up.
Yeah.
And again, her plan kind of makes sense in the sense of, oh, last time it was about kids' happiness. She was telling aware their happiness, and she was feeding off their negative emotions. Now she's basically just tormenting them and taking their blood. That's fucked up.
They're kids.
Mhm. And then we also have Tucker. I kind of like how Tucker has literally no way to get over his fear of hospitals besides imagining that he's in a modeling agency. Which fair enough. I guess that will help me. It will help me too to imagine the things I like, but also modeling agency, really, dude. This is the best you got.
I did love the bit though of Sam floating the whole time and like him
Yeah,
using the what's it called, the IV bags to tie her down so she wouldn't float away.
yeah. And she's floating around like a balloon. Yeah, that's funny. And in general, seeing all the kids like with all of these powers, trying to get them, and it's like, yeah, and it also kind of helps you appreciate Danny more that he has to deal with all of them, and he somehow manages.
Mm.
And by the way, the Jazz's power, quote unquote, where she's just a head floating in a jar. I totally forgot that Danny can even do that.
Yeah, I mean, they just never used it beyond like maybe one time, I think, way earlier.
Yeah, he uses it once, I think, in the second episode, and then never again. So,
I mean,
I
that's just
mean,
something that comes from the episodic nature of a show like this, though, I think, as
yeah,
well.
I suppose.
You're going to have
But
those
yeah,
moments of something getting done or used and be like, huh, that's neat, and then never see it again.
hmm well, speaking of reoccurring villains, though, moving on to episode 3, Pirate Radio. Again, I enjoy this one not just for the premise, but also for the climax of it, like the
Mm,
way it happens. I really enjoy that. Because for once, Danny Phantom isn't the one saving the day, it's Danny Fenton that does the work.
mm. And it's also like Ember coming back as well, and Ember's always been a fun character.
Yeah. By the way, I like how the cruise the cruise they're going on is actually called Amber's back, and then only later they're realizing, oh my god, really? We missed that. Even in Doctor's Disorders, that the doctor's name is Bertrand, and then he's like Bertrand. How did I miss that?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think this is the point where they start becoming a bit more self-aware to everything that's going on around them.
Yeah.
And interestingly, I also like the idea that despite now targeting adults instead of teenagers, Jazz is still impacted because she thinks she's an adult.
Which is something they bring up again later, actually,
Yeah,
which is a
because
nice little bit.
because you have young blood.
Yep.
Mm. But to be honest, Youngblood isn't really that much of an interesting villain in this episode because also Amber kind of steals the show whenever she's on screen. So
Even the next episode he's in, I think, was still kind of eh.
yeah, but it gets a bit more. It gets a bit more to him than in this. In this one is
But I
just
mean,
kind of like, oh, I'm the main villain, but actually, no, I'm just a lackey for Amber to eventually betray.
I still don't think it's great though, personally. Like even when he's got his solo
No, I
episode.
get. Yeah, I get you, but in this it's just like, oh, okay, we have a kid villain, but nope, Amber is the main villain here. She's just using him. But again, like I said, I really enjoyed the climax of Danny actually managing to lead all of his classmates to war with his parents' gadgets. That is a fun set piece. Because again, this episode is eventually about him learning to speak up and finding his voice. So it's a good it's a good episode for him as a character and also as a leader. Now, does it lead to anywhere? No, not necessarily. But hey, you know what? It's still fun to see.
Hmm.
Anything else?
Not about this one personally. It's like I said, right? These first three episodes for me were kind of very slow. Nothing too much about them. Like fine, but I think what comes next and a little bit later is way more enjoyable and better personally.
hmm So I guess moving on to what is the first TV movie for this show, Rainstorm, our first double episode.
A really good one.
A really good one. I think this is a bigger version of the episode one of the season one episode with Walker trying to take over the city hall.
Mm.
I think this is a bigger version of that.
Fair. I mean,
Mm,
I mean, it'd be like, yeah, like because you get the Ghost King, right? Like the evil
mm,
ruler of the Phantom Zone and everything, Pariah Dark,
Yeah,
right? And then you
voiced
get
by Brian Cox.
True, and then you get Vlad coming out and a bunch of other different old enemies coming out to help Danny take down the Ghost King and everything. It's really good in my opinion, like
Yeah.
really strong, and
It,
it's nice.
I do enjoy though that we actually start with Vlad first time we see him this season,
Mm.
and he's just like, oh, okay, I found this thing, I'm gonna be ruler of everything and stuff, but then he just gets owned in like one hit, and you're like, oh shit, this is not good, this isn't gonna turn up well. And then when every other ghost villain that Danny took on previously is just out on the loose, and even they're afraid from the Ghost King. It's like this is a good way to set up your big bad, I have to say.
No, fair. And like talking about the elephant in the room again, right?
hmm
Which is Avatar. It was this two-parter that started to show me like, man, Danny Phantom would really be amazing if it was more like ATLA. Because
Like if
I
they
will
fully
admit, right?
integrate
Like
it, I
season
guess. Yeah.
two was about the
hmm
time that because I didn't watch season three, and like when we go to cover season three, I'm gonna have to do a full watch through because I don't remember anything from season three because I didn't really watch it at all. I watched an episode here or there, but season two is
Fair
where I started to lose interest in Danny
enough.
Phantom, right? And a lot of that came down to like Avatar kind of just showing like, oh wow, this is what these kind of shows can be more like potentially. And while this is good, it's not as good. And I'm kind of growing disinterested with it. I was at the time, like younger me was, right?
I get
So
it.
this episode, I think, definitely shows you, like, man, if Danny Phantom was less episodic and more story driven or more character driven, like this is kind of like a look into what that could be like, because you could have the Ghost King be more of a villain throughout an entire arc of a series, a portion of a season instead of just
Yeah,
a
like
two-parter.
it's not just 2 episodes and then you kind of forget about him. He needs to be a series finale you build up to.
Yeah,
Maybe not a serious finale, but but
like
a
an arc
season.
finale, a finale of an arc within a season at the very least, right? That goes into something
Yeah.
else, right?
Hmm. But with that said, we still get some interesting stuff here that does carry over, like the show for the city finally acknowledging Danny as Danny Phantom and not Invisible. As much as that name is fucking ridiculous to the point you love it,
Yeah,
and
Invisible's a better
also
name. It just is.
and debatable, and also this is the episode which introduced the maybe Danny and Valerie are gonna end up together, maybe.
Hmm. Definitely.
We
100%.
obviously know now that the answer is no, but it was an interesting decision to make suddenly. That's like,
Oh, no, no.
wait,
HC, we don't know anything. We're still in season 2. We know nothing. It's going to be Danny and
dude.
Valerie.
Mm-hmm, sure. But besides all those
We'll get
things,
to
there are
Danny and Paulina later. Okay, HC.
yeah, sure, we'll get to them later. Yes, definitely. Okay. With that being said, there is actually a part that I really enjoy in here.
Mm.
Well, obviously, Vlad is behind the whole thing, kinda, right? It's thanks to him that everything. It's because of him that everything starts. He's using every character basically as a chess piece for his own diabolical game. But I enjoyed the point where he's actually helping Danny fight off the Ghost King's army in the school, and then he goes, "You're helping me? Why? Do you want my mom's phone number?" And Vlad goes, "No, but if you're willing to give it to me." It's like talk even you know what? It's good to know he has priorities. Maybe.
Fair.
and
Very fair.
and again, I also enjoy the fact that he says that Valerie asks him like, why are you helping me do this? I'm like 14, and he tells her, "Oh well, because I trust you." What you think I would manipulate a 14-year-old to do my bidding because I'm some sort of an evil mastermind? And both of them starts laughing afterwards. It's like, yeah, it's super ridiculous. The show is self-aware, but it's like, no, he kind of knows that he's fucked up, but he's going with it anyway. I enjoy just how much of a fucked up person he is, and
Agreed.
he's willing to admit it. But oh my god!
Agreed.
And overall, I also think the climax is really cool for this episode.
Yeah.
Just the whole fight scene for this, and all the ghosts actually helping Danny out instead of just beating him up, and of course the one ghost which actually left someone with answers is the box ghost, stealing away the pop paper from this box store, and then the owner goes, where's my bubble wrap? That's
Hmm. Hmm.
that's the biggest consequence in this episode.
Yep.
R.I.P. bubble wrap.
Yep.
Well, and moving on kind of directly from this, we have the next episode, Identity Crisis, which I like. I think it's a good episode to really explore Danny's duality. And but before that, I enjoyed that we literally start with Danny, Sam, and Tucker going over the fact that all the ghosts are back in the ghost zone. And as soon as they get to Box Ghost, they're like, "Who cares?" And he just pops out, going, "Hey, I have feelings too, you know." And they shut him down, and they just shut the door. They don't care about him. He
Poor
can
Box
do
Ghost.
whatever. You can. I just have this head canon in my head that this was totally improvised by Rob Paulsen in the recording studio when they got to that line. When they recorded it, and he just goes, "Hey, I have feelings too, you know."
To be fair,
Hmm.
Box Ghost does get his comeuppance, I believe, in season 3.
Yeah, he gets one episode where he's a bad guy in that.
So he gets it back eventually, kind of. Not really, but you know.
I mean, at least he gets one. I
Yeah,
like
very fair.
the like what's his name, Clumpel, the that one. Will you be my friend guy? Like
Oh yeah.
he doesn't get one episode to be the bad guy. So you know what? He gets more than him.
Not everybody deserves one HC, let's be honest.
Yeah, that's true. So anyway, an identity crisis. So because Danny deleted a video game, Technus is free again, and now because on the one hand he promised Sam and Tucker a whole weekend just to enjoy themselves, and on the other hand he needs to track down the ghost. So he decides to fly through the Fenton ghost catcher to separate himself. And
And it goes
it
about as
will
well as you would think.
and like and weirdly enough it works, and I do enjoy that there's that the regular Danny is just like, yeah, dude, like I'm totally doing this like, because it's not Danny whatsoever. And then the other one is just your traditional, oh yeah, I am Danny Phantom, I'm a hero, I'm a star. And you can tell that something's off when both of them don't have their powers.
Mm.
Like at least that the human portion can go ghost, and ghost half can go human, which obviously interesting. But then you're also starting to think like, what exactly did he do wrong? Because this is not the first time he's flying through that thing, if you recall.
Mm. True.
And then at the end, they kind of try to explain it with, oh, if you go through this side, it's merging you. If you go through this side, it separates you. It's like, wait, what? Though I think, this is just every kind of show has this kind of mini retcon they need to do in order for a plot to happen. And I do enjoy the idea that, with so many other, especially, being a Spider-Man fan, we've all been through the what if the superhero could just split himself? That way he can do the hero stuff and the human stuff at the same time. So it's nice to see
And then
this
you have to
plot
answer
kind of
the
come into
question,
life.
and then you start asking, like, is it still the superhero at that point? Is he someone different now? Yada yada. You
Hmm.
get the idea.
But I
Mm.
also enjoy the fact that you think that Phantom flying into Phantom would just merge them again. But then it's like, oh shit, it actually doesn't work. They didn't become one. One overshadowed the other. That actually caught me off guard when I said, I'm like, wait,
Hmm.
oh,
Fair.
oh.
Very fair.
and and then I also enjoyed that now because the city knows that the ghost boy is named Danny. There's the point where Jack goes, "I'll save you, Danny." Wait, both of their names are Danny. Damn, that's confusing. "I'll save you, son." Well,
Still not
anything
figuring
else
out
to point
they're
out?
both his son.
Just you wait, as they say.
Mm.
and and then at the end I also kind of I enjoyed it. I think it's a good episode, but it kind of loses me near the climax, if I'm honest.
I think it's one of those, again, it's fine. It's nothing
Mm.
I think that's like super great, but it's fine. But I do get what you're talking about. Like, yeah, towards the end it's kind of
because like I enjoy the idea for the climax. I just think it's not at this point. I think the bid already kind of overstayed its welcome of the
Yeah,
two Dannys.
yeah. It's definitely one of those things of like it's overstayed its welcome by that point, and you're also like it definitely it has worn out its welcome at that point, right? Even in a 20-minute show thereabout, right? Like you can definitely feel like, okay, we need this to end like 5 minutes ago because this is I'm done with it.
Yep.
I get you. It definitely doesn't land on its feet. That final bit of episode of identity crisis or not identity crisis. No, it is identity
Yeah,
crisis. I was looking at the
identity
wrong one.
crisis is
Bleh.
which leads us to totally not a Star Wars reference in my Danny Phantom, the Phantom Menace.
This is another meh one for me. Like I know you talked about, it's like, oh, Youngblood's better in this one. It's still like the
I
bar was
tell you what,
already buried, and like,
I
okay,
tell you what,
we've stepped over the hole the previous bar was buried in with Youngblood. It's still not good,
I tell you
and
what.
I just
I'll
hated Jazz in this one personally.
let me let me rephrase that. It's not that he's better. I think in the overall idea, he's used better.
I mean,
Like,
fair, but there's just so much about this episode I was kind of meh about
okay,
personally.
so let's hear because don't get me wrong. I think this episode to some extent is kind of a lesser episode. Is kind of a lesser version of My Brother's Keepers from season one. But
Fair.
I don't necessarily found Jazz annoying. How did you find
I
her annoying?
I don't know. It's like it was too much, right? In the opposite direction of what I think they needed to go for Jazz personally, right? If
Mhm.
that makes sense.
I guess so. If anything, I
I
do
get what they're
enjoy.
going, but it also doesn't help, right? That you also mentioned it too. Like we already kind of had an episode like this, and it's like this is kind of where I just come to my personal opinion of just episodic shows just don't do it for me. I'm sorry, I just cannot get into episodic style shows as much as I can shows with character arcs and story
Because
driven
I tell you
stuff
what, I
because
think also because
episodic
to
shows
some extent,
have to by nature repeat themselves in terms of like, oh, we've had this character do this before, we're going to have them do it again this season, maybe even
because
twice this season. Why, you
yeah,
ask? Because fuck you, we need story. Because
mm,
we have to come up with a new story every episode and then hit the reset button. And I just like this is again, this is going to be a personal opinion of mine that it's going, and I know people are going to get mad at me, but I just cannot get as into episodic shows as I can into other shows that are less episodic. It just
which is fair, it's a personal taste.
so that there's going to be those
I
moments
also think,
where I view something as worse than you might or others might because of the episodic nature personally.
and also I think with my brother's keepers, there was this point where Jess finds out about Danny's identity, right?
Mhm.
And in here, they kind of try and do it again that the relationship between the brother and sister is kind of the focus, but then there's also like there's no progress from it. Like Jazz doesn't tell Danny that she knows about his secret, and she still doesn't, right?
Mhm.
Like and I think it's also because we know that the episode after this, she walks into the idea that now she does know and she's gonna becomes part of the team. So it does kind of feel like stalling, especially weirdly enough. In the US, this episode actually aired after the Ultimate Enemy.
Yes. And that
Thanks
made it
Nickelodeon.
so much worse. And I think that's also kind of like coming back as I watched this one, right? I started remembering like, oh, wait, this one didn't air before it, did it? This one aired after,
Yep, it
which
aired like
may
almost a month after, which is wild.
which makes this episode so much worse when you do that, right? Because it's like, wait, because that's the reset button. That's the worst use of the reset button for an episodic series, right? It's like where you show something and then go, here's a new episode, and then you go even further back. It's like,
You
ugh.
know what else? I know a lot of dubbed anime did this, that they would air episodes out of order, and suddenly characters introduced in an episode are just kind of there because the introduction episode didn't air,
Yep.
and you're like, wait, who's this?
Yeah, this was an old mistake that I don't think you see as much anymore nowadays, right? I can't think of a newer show that's had that, like, oh, this episode aired out of order. Oops. That's because reasons.
Also,
Or
I
because a
think it also
company
kind of
meddled
speaks.
and they shouldn't have because
I think
fucking
it also kind of
Nickelodeon.
speaks. Yeah, I think it also speaks for the episode that we're not we're basically not talking about the plot. We're just talking about all the
I mean,
politics around it and what else that it
the
gonna
plot
cause.
is basically like, oh, Youngblood's back, but because he's a young ghost, no one old can see him. But wait, isn't Jazz young, you ask? Yes, but she thinks she's an adult, so therefore,
Also, Sam and Tucker were totally there in one scene.
yeah.
They could have totally seen him. Just pointing out.
So
I
like that's
get.
another thing. The show's like, oh, I was the only kid who was actually there. That's why I'm the only one saw it. It's like, wait a minute, but they were there. What?
Hmm.
Don't
I,
ask
I
questions.
think again when I said I think I appreciate the idea a lot more in this episode rather than the actual execution.
It's definitely, again, I think this is probably the weakest, other than even the Christmas episode. I think is stronger than this one.
Oh, we'll get there. We'll get there. We'll get there. We'll get there. But you know what? We don't really have anything else to say, so might as well just jump right into it. The ultimate enemy.
From the worst episode to the best two-parter of the entire show. End of.
Probably one of the best episodes of the entire show, period. This is a damn good episode.
It's so good. You get, oh, what's the time ghost's name? I forget his name.
Clockwork.
Clockwork. You get Clockwork, which I think is a great ghost, and then you
Mm-hmm.
get fucking old Dante, who's old Danny.
Dante. Who's
Fuck
Dante?
me. That's the evil Danny's name, Dante. You get evil Danny, right?
Actually,
Who's much older and way
before
more
that.
powerful. Like it's so good.
Mhm. So before we're gonna talk about it, I just have to because this was obviously hyped up and like people didn't know the identity of the ultimate enemy before this aired.
Mm,
Like I know that there was a, from what I know, you'll have to tell me because you were in America.
if I
Um,
remember.
yeah, but from what I was told, they didn't say who the ultimate enemy is, just that Danny is going to face the ultimate enemy.
If I'm not
That's
mistaken,
all.
yeah, like nobody knew anything. Now,
Mhm.
granted, like this is 2005. The internet still kind of in its infancy a little bit at this point. Like it's not big, right? Like you don't have things like Tumblr or other like Twitter stuff like that that exist, right? So there's not a lot of communication other than on like forums. I know
Yeah.
forums. Some of you listening have no clue what the fuck I'm talking about when I say that word, but it's okay.
Forums are still around. This is how this podcast was funded.
Yes, but they're
It's not as
definitely
big.
not
I get.
used anymore
Yeah,
or in the
I
same
get.
way. Twitter sites
Um,
like Twitter. I'm gonna be an old man. Like sites like Twitter and Tumblr and Facebook and others have like kind of, and TikTok have kind of like taken over that area of like
and let's say
how people
if this
communicate
was
socially
something that
online.
happened today, there would have been a leak.
Oh yeah, I think people would have
And,
known.
but then again, I should point out that this is the first time that Danny Phantom had his own video game, which was a tie-in to this episode for the Game Boy Advance of all things.
Woo.
I bet you didn't know that one, huh?
Nope.
The video game came out a week before the actual episode aired.
Cool.
No, it's not even a matter of cool. Like this is like spoilers to them. Though to be fair, like there's no confirmation about this, but I've heard that there was supposedly a PS2, GameCube, Xbox game based on the episode set to launch alongside the Game Boy one. But I guess they were just like they just say it's unreleased, but no other information is known. So as far as I'm aware,
It was
that
canceled.
game was never. Yeah, if it was ever being made at all, right?
True,
They could
yeah.
have just said, "Hey, we want." But and to be fair, just to point out, Danny Phantom only had two solo games. Like he appeared in all of those Nickelodeon crossovers,
Hmm.
including that basketball one I mentioned previously. So he was in those, but like in terms of his own video games, he only got two, and both of them were based on an episode. The other one we're gonna get to, you know, next time. But with all that being said, now's the point where I stop and ask, what was it? Why a video game for the Game Boy Advance? Like, wouldn't it make more sense to actually focus on consoles?
Well, at the time, you have to remember, like the Game Boy, like line was extremely popular,
Oh,
like
I'm sure.
extremely popular.
Trust me, I know this is not to diss on the Game Boy Advance by any means. It's a great device, and I love it too. But the thing that I'm trying to point out is that it's it's like it always, right? It was always like you're gonna get a console game, and the Game Boy Advance may get something to the side, right? When it came to license games, right?
Well,
So I'm
yes,
kind of like
but
it
one, it's
because it's also
Nickelodeon, and Nickelodeon has no fucking clue what they're doing half the time, right? Like, let's be honest.
the SpongeBob games. Thank you.
I said half the time,
Okay. But to be honest,
but you're right. But
but
like,
I just
I
wanted
think
to
it's also,
because
I think it was also like real quick. I think it was a thing of like, oh, our target audience is on the Game Boy, so that's what we'll aim for.
I guess, but then again, also to
Eh,
talk about the other Butch Hartman series, Fairly Odd Parents had console games, and you would think Danny Phantom would fit right in as a superhero. So, huh?
I think Danny Phantom would have been better on the console, but I never messed with any of the games because, as far as I remember, most of the games weren't good from Nickelodeon other than the SpongeBob ones, and that's
I mean,
it.
I played one of the Fairly Odd Parents one, and it was actually fun from what I remember. And Jimmy Neutron Attack of the Twonkies was actually pretty fun too. So, but
Maybe I can't say I didn't play enough of them to say.
maybe it's
So
my nostalgia goggles though. It's been years.
could
I
be.
so,
I'm not
but
gonna assume though.
but anyway, back to the. I just want to bring up the game because for one, it's so funny to me that it was released a week before the episode. Because imagine if you're just buying it completely unaware, and then suddenly you watch the show and it's like, wait a minute, I played this on my Game Boy. What the fuck? And also, I think two point things to point out. You said earlier because you accidentally said Dante. So, so the Game Boy Advance actually refers to Dog Danny as Dan Phantom, and it always made me laugh that how would you make a character evil? Remove two letters, the last two letters of their name. Genius.
Absolutely.
And I don't know why Dan Phantom is just a name that cracks me up. But two, the Game Boy Advance game actually had an extra plot to it that's not in the episode itself.
I mean, you kind of have to for a game, right? Because like,
No, because the regular plot you are just essentially playing through the same plot as the episode, right? Only they
mhm,
make it a bit more gamey, obviously.
yeah,
But then if you choose to play the save file in which you beat the game, then Clockwork tells Danny, "Hey, listen, everything you did, you not cheating in the test, and the nasty burger not exploding, that didn't help. You're still gonna be evil, bro." And Danny's like, "What? But no, that shouldn't be happening." And then you basically just replay the game with a bunch of missions and extra boss battles until you find out that Doug Danny asked Vlad Masters to be like, "Hey, listen, if the explosion is prevented, make sure that I'm still gonna turn evil." And after Danny beats up Vlad a bit more, the future is okay again.
gotta always go back to Vlad.
Yeah, I guess it's
Vlad
just
is the enemy.
I guess they just kind of figured, because he barely does anything in the episode itself, you kind of need to. So
I don't know. Like
sure.
it kind of, that's probably one of the one of the problems of Danny Phantom, like it an over reliance on Vlad, right? At times.
Well, to be honest, not as much as Batman relies on the Joker, if you ask me.
I mean,
but
fair enough.
but anyway,
I will
to the
say I feel like the Joker is more can be more if you use him well. Like the Joker has a bit more of a range than Vlad comes off as having at times, right? For him getting
you're
used
probably
so much.
right, but I'm also saying I'm kind of sick of the Joker in Batman media.
I mean, also fair.
But that's a whole other discussion that we can get into
I mean,
some
we
other
had
time.
this discussion when we covered Suicide Squad Isekai.
Yeah, it too. And actually, yeah, I completely forgot about that. You're right.
But getting back to the episode, very strong, very good episode.
Yeah, very good episode. I still remember when I saw it because there was some sort of a hype to it. Even here, like they were like, "Oh, every Friday we're gonna do like a double episode of your favorite show," and then they said Danny Phantom, the ultimate enemy, and I'm like, interesting. And then when they say Danny Phantom is gonna grow up to become the most evil ghost on the planet, I'm like, wait, what the fuck? And like until the halfway point, I still think they're fucking with us. I still think they're just fucking, and it's not Danny at all. I was in denial for half the episode until like the halfway point where it's basically like, nah, bruh, that is Danny, and it's like, damn.
I do love how they kind of reveal it over time, though. It's like, oh, he goes evil because he cheated on the CAT, and it's like, it's so dumb, but it's very much this show as well.
Yeah. By the way, question: is the CAT an actual thing? Like, is this based on something?
uh, is it? I don't remember if the show like make the SAT is definitely a thing, right? I don't remember if the
Well, but that's what I'm asking though. If the CAT is supposed to be based on something from real life, or is it just something that they made up?
it is a thing. If I'm not mistaken, I don't know if it's called the CAT, but like the SAT is a thing from real life, and I think that's what the CAT is based off of. If I'm not mistaken,
Okay,
there's
so
like
there
two
is an.
tests you can take over here in the states, right? Where it's like there's one that leads up to the SAT, and like these are basically like tests you take to like get colleges to notice you more, so they'll give you more of a like, oh, you did good grades on this test we did. Okay, here's extra money so you can go to college. Basically, is what it is.
Okay, gotcha.
And if you
So
don't
it's
do well
not.
on it, well, fuck you. We're not paying shit for you. Figure it out on your
So
own.
so it's not like you fail, your future is due.
It is and it isn't.
Okay,
If
fair
you're
enough.
going to be a little topical, if you're poor and you can't study well and you still fail this test, you're probably not going to college because you can't afford it now because you're going to get way less money in grant money because, well, you did shit on the SAT sort of deal.
Ah, okay, fair enough.
It also means, oh, it's also a thing of like, oh, you did shit on the SATs. Well, this prestigious college that you wanted to go to is now never going to accept you because you did poor on the SATs as well.
Interesting. Okay, I learned something today, and also I would probably turn evil too from thanks to this test, most
So yeah,
likely.
it can definitely fuck up your future in some ways. In some ways it can't, and I think we've gotten better about it since this show came out. But in some ways, yeah, it definitely could.
Also, I by the way, I do like when the trio arrives at the future. That Tucker goes, "If this is the future, I'm not taking this test." And then when Valerie says that they're actually dead, he goes, "Oh yeah, no, I'm not doing this test. Nah, fuck that." And he even points out, Danny cheats on the test and Sam and Tucker die. What the fuck?
As it be, as it be.
Hmm. Like, but like, listen, it is like, you know what, and which is okay. I guess might as well talk about it now. The one thing that that this TV movie can kind of live and die by, there is some sort of a plot hole, or at least like a time paradox that doesn't fully make sense because when Danny finds out from the older Vlad and what happened, how Dark Danny was created, even if the explosion killed his family and friends, wouldn't he just know to not go to Vlad and remove the ghost half?
But
He has a way.
he's sad though, HC. He doesn't think straight because
No,
he's sad.
I get it. I get it. And no, and don't get me wrong, I think it's interesting though to think about it because we
Oh,
don't really
fair.
know what caused the explosion in the original timeline,
Well,
right?
we know like the explosion just happens because like the heater was left on and it kept heating the thing that wasn't supposed to get above a certain temperature and so it exploded. Now, the bigger question is why did their teacher want to meet them at a destroyed restaurant in the first
And
place in the
I
original
guess I
timeline?
guess
Like
I
that's
guess
I think the more interesting question. Like why couldn't you just meet them at school? Question mark.
and again, I guess in this context, because he knew Danny was cheating, he was trying to make a point, and maybe in the original timeline he was trying to make a point too. That's the thing that we don't know, and I'm not sure if it's clever or not that we don't know directly.
It's probably better at the very least because if the more you know when it comes to like shows that start dealing with time paradox stuff,
Hmm.
the more you learn and the more you know, the more you start to be like, wait, this is dumb. Why did you do
Hmm.
this?
Yeah.
So I think
Uh,
it's better you don't.
so, yeah. And if anything, I think it just becomes a lot more intense and a lot more psychotic when Doug Dennis actually ends up the one that almost kills them. That he just completely lost all connection to his old life to the point he's willing to be the one to kill them.
Mm.
I really like that. This is
You also get the ghost whale this episode too, which is also really cool.
Yeah, we'll get to the ghost well. So, but yeah, Doug Denny is just an awesome villain, and also like
Hmm.
the performance, like the voice performance by Eric Roberts,
Oh yes,
beautiful.
very good.
Such a good. Also, he did the inevitable thing before Thanos, and if you ask me, a lot better.
Mm. Also, you get David Carradine as a Clockwork too, which is also really good as well. I thought.
Yeah, I like Clockwork. I just don't know who the actor is. At least I can connect them to any roles he's done. So
I don't remember
apologies.
what he's done to be honest with you either. He's a
But
much
he did
older actor. I
good.
remember that. No, but he was. I love Clockwork personally. I think Clockwork's a great like side character.
And I also like that, in a way, the episode tries to build him up as maybe he's like a side villain, but no, he ends up being like the observer say he basically cheated. But the cheating, what a cool dude, that was a, that was a really cool idea.
Oh fuck yeah, I forgot. Can't believe I forgot. Carradine, Clockwork. He's in Kill Bill. He's Kill Bill.
Oh shit!
Yeah, I
Oh,
forgot.
that's good.
He's Kill Bill.
Mhm.
Completely forgot that.
Oh man, imagine if Danny's name was Invisible. That would have been hilarious in this case.
Boo, bad joke.
I don't care. Invisible by itself is a bad joke, so whatever. I can talk about this episode for a long while, but I guess for the sake of keeping things going, just love this episode. And like you said, the ghostly whale, cool ass power, really good power.
Yep.
Um, and the one thing I want to point out, there's the point when our Danny first uses it in the Ghost Zone after he encounters the future versions of characters.
Yep.
Notice that he powers down, but for some reason there's this weird ass animation error where his head is the Danny Phantom head, but he has the Danny Phantom body.
True.
That is the weirdest animation error
Well, I
ever.
one of my issues there right from this season. Did we just
Mhm.
forget that you can just be a human in the ghost zone and nothing can hurt you or touch you at all? Did we just forget that,
I
by the way?
think they maybe forgot it comes back in season 3.
They definitely forgot it for season 2 though. They went out of their way to establish that and been like there are multiple times we end up in the ghost zone and Danny's like I'm going to stay in ghost form the entire time when if he was just in human form this literally would not be an issue. Now granted, I guess he wouldn't have got the ghost whale if he went into human form in the ghost zone this time, but it's kind of like Danny, what are you doing, Danny? Just go be a human for a bit. They literally cannot touch you or do anything to you. What are you doing, bud? And this isn't the first time this season this is an issue either. But
Oh well,
anyways,
it's still great episode. One of the
no,
best in the
definitely
entire
100%.
show. If you need to watch at least one thing, Danny Phantom, watch this.
Yeah, you don't even need context. Just go watch it. It's really good.
Yep. So with that said, moving on. What episode are you going to do right after the episode where you find out our main character becomes evil at the end, and there's a lot of time paradox bullshit? A Christmas special.
Where he's the Grinch, where the main character is the Grinch.
I
He's
mean,
not evil, we swear.
but here's the funny thing about this that, isn't it funny that after this episode where it's like we need to stop Danny from becoming an evil jerk, and then you have this Christmas special where he's basically a jerk and gets punished for it.
To be fair, like Danny's always been kind of
Like,
like
don't get me wrong, he has his moments of being an asshole, and like
yeah,
you can, it's part of the territory. He's a teenager. Teenagers can
yeah,
be moody and everything.
yeah.
And in a way, his anger is justified in this case because, if I had to grow up in a house where every year my parents had to argue if Santa Claus is real or not, I would probably throw a fit too, and I want to necessarily care for the holidays. I get it,
Fair.
but after when he destroys the Ghost Rider's story, he's like, "Hey, sorry, dude," but then he's like, "You destroyed my Christmas," and it's like, "Oh, awesome! I destroyed a Christmas thing. If I hate the holiday, but if I destroyed someone else's hard work relating to it, I'm okay with it." It's like, dude, what did we just go through?
Not the villain. Finger guns.
But to be honest, I think this is a really cool idea for a Christmas special. I like the idea
Mhm.
that they're talking in rhyme, and also Will Arnett. Like Will Arnett is fucking awesome.
Yeah, it's
I
Will
think,
Arnett. He's great. It's a Christmas special. Like it's fine for a Christmas special, but off the back of the Ultimate Enemy, this was like
especially
probably
especially again in terms of continuity, it's like we just did Danny being a joke. Really, this is literally the first plot you do right after. Come on.
this is that episodic nature. We hit the reset button.
Well, not necessarily because again he does have the ghostly well, and Jazz is part of the team. So
For like all right, so like the way it works for most episodic shows is you hit the reset button, everything goes back to the way it was before whatever episode you just watched, right? For Danny Phantom, not everything goes back to the way it was, but some stuff does.
But we kind of supposed to ignore the fact that Danny just fought an evil older version of himself. Like we just kind of supposed to accept that he did that and life goes on.
Except life goes on and life repeats some of the lessons we've already should have learned. I'm gonna
But
keep
I
harping on
also
this.
enjoy the fact that the ghosts just have a set rule that during Christmas they're not fighting.
Well, yeah,
I don't know why it's just funny to me.
I think that's funny too, though.
It's funny, and it also kind of fits with the idea of a Christmas special that it's like at the end they help Danny out and everything, and they're like, tomorrow we're gonna kick your ass, but until then, let's all help each other out. I think it's cheesy, but
It's a
it's pretty
nice
cute.
thing, yeah. Yeah, it's nice.
Also, go representation. Sam is Jewish. Woohoo! So moving on to secret weapons. Now this is doing the Phantom Menace in a bit in a bit more of an interesting way because now we actually get to the consequences of Jazz being in the know about Danny's identity. Danny knows she knows, and her helping him out.
This
You
one I
know,
liked.
in theory.
Yeah, this one I liked a lot more than the Fenton Menace. Yeah, absolutely.
and
And
I again I just enjoy the idea of her trying her best to be a part of the team, but because she's the newbie, it doesn't matter how much she tries, she will never actually be fitting of it because Sam and Tucker have been at this for like a year at this
well,
point.
it's also funny,
And
right? It's also doubly funny as well, right? Because like you have this thing of like, oh, go she, her family's all ghost hunters, right? Like it should be in her blood, and she's just terrible at it. Like she cannot hunt ghosts at all. This is like the worst. This just it's the one thing uh Jazz just cannot do well, right? Which is great. And they play it up so well for laughs consistently throughout this episode, I think.
yes. Now, and again, the thing I actually like that they have this plan of, you know what? If I make Jazz think that she's helping me out, maybe then she'll, I can get her off of me. And so there's the point where she goes, "Back off! I'm trained with this thing," and Tucker is like, trained by her dad. It's like, yeah, that is creepy. To think that Jack Fenton trained someone, this is not a good thing.
I do love also like how you can see Jazz does kind of take after her dad a little bit in this way, and Danny takes more after their mom, who's actually really good at it.
Which is also kind of throws back into the chemistry that it seems that Jazz is more of a daddy's girl and Danny is more of a mommy's boy to
Well,
some
it's
degree.
also funny though too, right? Because like Danny still takes more after his dad than his mom in a lot of other ways, and Jazz takes more after their mom than their dad in a lot of other ways. But in this thing, it's
Yeah,
the opposite, which I think is
in
hilarious.
actually, but she does get better throughout the show,
No, no,
so
fair,
that's
fair, yeah.
and I also enjoyed that there's just the point where Skulker attacks, actually goes to the Fenton's lab to get something, and when he gets away, Danny just approaches Jazz, who's holding the Fenton thermos, and he goes, "No, no, wait, let me save you the trouble," and he sucks himself in.
It was
I-
also good.
th- that is fucking hilarious,
It's
and
so
I
great.
am,
That's what I'm saying. The comedy, the humor in this episode in particular is, in my opinion, spot
and
on.
also, not counting Dark Danny, first time we see Danny being sucked by the thermos, and this is a new thing.
It's
And,
also
and,
it
and
doesn't
I like
overstay its
also,
welcome
good
either. I
job,
think.
Danny. Just to say, good job, Danny. You caught three ghosts today. No, you caught the same ghost three times. All of them me.
Yeah, like that's another thing. Like the humor, in my opinion, doesn't overstay its welcome this episode, and it's consistently spot on.
Mhm.
So good.
And then there's also the point though when Danny snaps at Jazz. You feel it's real. You
Hmm.
feel that he's coming from a place of you are
Genuine, like
literally
I'm
not
frustrated.
listening.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, a genuine frustration, but you can also tell that, like, yeah, maybe he was a bit harsh in the way he said it, but you can also feel like I also feel like where he's coming from. And then Jazz kind of does like something that you could consider stupid, but I guess this is kind of her trying to prove himself, to prove herself that she just straight up goes to Vlad to try and dig up some dirt on him. And I like that, that she goes, "I ran away from home. My father's an idiot. My brother hates me." And he goes, "Wait, what did you say?" And he goes, "No, in the middle." Like Jack being an idiot. That's the point that sells it. That's there you go. You don't need anything
I
else.
mean, to be fair, it's Vlad.
Yeah. Again, I like it because it fits. It
No, no,
works
fair,
well.
fair. Yeah, it's again also funny. So again, going back to that, the humor in this episode is spot on consistently.
Mhm. So, moving on to the next episode, Flirting with Disaster. Kind of weird to think that this is the last time Teknus has a big episode to himself.
To be fair, Technus has gotten used a lot, this season,
Mhm.
right? So I
Yeah.
think it makes sense that they would want to give some of the other villains a little bit more screen time moving forward.
Yeah, but also it does kind of feel like this is like a grand farewell for him because how
Mm.
much more can you go from him taking over a fucking satellite in space?
Yeah, like there's not much. Yeah, there's nowhere like he can't go. There's no up from here for him, right? There's no like he can't escalate any further than a satellite in space and like taking over most of the machines in the world, right?
Mhm. So the main focus of this episode, Danny and Valerie.
Mm-hmm. They're in a romance. It'll last.
Them,
It'll
them,
never.
I,
It'll never.
I kind of wish this was Endgame, but I
Really?
guess
I think a
not.
lot. I'm surprised by that. I thought most people liked Danny and Sam.
Oh no 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 no, my friend! Oh no 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 no! This is actually one of the reasons people really hate season three because
Oh,
the
really?
Danny and Sam is such an obvious endgame that to the point that like he and Valerie had somewhat of a better chemistry, arguably.
I mean, that's interesting though because like, even in this episode in season two, they're setting up Danny and Sam like here or there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because like
Yeah,
at the end
they
of
did.
this episode, right? Like Danny gives Sam the ring to hold on to, and it's like clueless, right? And you have
Mhm.
Tucker and the
Like I think the point is that people were just really enjoying the chemistry between the two more
mm, fair,
because
fair,
when the show starts, it is kind of obvious that Danny and Sam are just more best friends rather than an actual love interests. And
yeah,
obviously, we've seen this trope done before. In
yeah,
a lot of high school stuff, the best friends would eventually become lovers.
yep.
Fair enough, but it's also like there was something here. Why not actually do something with it? It could have been interesting.
That's fair. But
Also,
no,
if I had a nickel for every time there was a superhero cartoon where the main character had a better chemistry with a character voiced by Chris Summer rather than a character that he actually ends up dating, I'd have two nickels. Not a lot, but shocking it happened twice.
whatever else could you be referencing?
Batman Beyond.
I know. I know exactly what you were talking about.
Okay, good, good. The line is from Phineas and Ferb, which I haven't seen, but I know the meme. The actual show I'm talking about, Batman Beyond.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, it is an interesting episode to see. I
Part
really enjoy it.
I'm
I
gonna
thought, what? Oh, you didn't
those
like this episode.
characters were black as well, by the way.
Well, that's because I think it's because Chris Summers' ethnicity,
Oh
probably.
yeah, so they do it for okay, yeah, no, that makes sense. That makes a lot more sense because I was just gonna say like, yeah, no,
I I think so. I'm not sure. I need to check. You know what? Just to be
just to
fair,
make
I'm
sure we're not
googling
being
it.
racist. Oh boy, look it
It's,
up real quick.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah, she is. Okay. Okay.
We're not being racist, right? Whew. No,
Yeah.
but
No.
like,
I think she was also Susie in Rugrats. So yeah, I think it's more.
mm,
It's more that it's her rather than. Oh
not
God,
fair.
it's her. That sounds bad. You know what I mean.
No,
Moving on.
you're
Moving
fine.
on.
Before we dig this hole any deeper, but no, I get
And
exactly what you mean. But yeah, it's definitely like I looking like I can see why people would be more interested in this because yeah, I agree. Like rewatching it now, you can definitely see there's a lot more chemistry between these two than there is Sam and Danny. Like, yes, Sam and Danny have a good back and forth, but it definitely their back and forth feels more friendly than what they end up doing with them. And to be honest, like personally, I don't care. I'm not really attached one way or the other, but
yeah.
I can definitely see there's more chemistry one way than there is, with Sam and Danny, right?
Yeah. I get you.
So yeah, no, fair. I get it.
And but that said, I still think it's a really good episode, and the ending does hit where it's supposed to. It's such a shame though that either way, Valerie is done dirty for the rest of the series because after that she only has one episode she actually speaks in, and that's like close to the
Oh
end.
yeah, she is dropped hard after this point moving forward.
Yeah, like Valerie is done so dirty after this episode, so, which I think kind of makes the whole thing that Sam is the end game. It does make it a bit more hurtful knowing that after this she's barely even referenced, let
Yeah,
alone
they drop her hard.
yeah. But at the same time, I enjoyed the climax for this episode, and I also like that just before after he gets the jetpack, Danny just has this fanboy moment where he's like, "Hey, I'm an astronaut." I think it's funny just to point out another thing about it.
Fair, fair.
So yeah, not a lot to say. Just I think the relationship is really well done. I enjoy the climax. I enjoy everything. Just knowing that Valerie is dropped so hard after this does suck.
Yeah, understandable.
Anyway, moving on to micromanagement. I like this one. It's nothing special, but I enjoy it for what it is.
It's fun because right, like you get Danny Dash and Skulker together, and it's just like such a weird grouping, but it
Mhm.
works way better than what
Yeah,
you thought it would.
yeah, and I also like the idea that Danny is slowly, reverting back to his human form, and he now needs to keep it away from Dash that he's Danny Phantom. But just to see them, actually training together is pretty cool. Like
Mhm.
I just enjoy this dynamic. Like you said, it's an odd trio to go for, but it works really
Yeah,
well.
it works really well. Like they play it very well too. Like it's just fun.
Yeah, and again, with the talking about chemistry, when they are trying to, when Jack is playing golf and they need to watch out for the balls, they're like, "Have you seen them play golf? The only safe place is the hole."
Yep.
Mm. So I don't really have enough to say about this one though, just that it's really fun and
No,
I
yeah,
enjoy it.
I think that's more than enough to say about this one. This one is just again another really fun episode that nails the humor really well and combines some characters that you wouldn't think would do all that well together, especially for a full episode, but does. Like they were smart about it. Like this is really good.
Yeah, which brings us to the next episode, Beauty Marked. Meh.
It's I like some of the ideas behind this one personally, right? Especially like with the ghost dragons and it being like another, medieval thing. Like it's neat, but
Yeah, like that part is interesting. The first half, I'm not a big fan of.
yeah, it's kind of meh.
Like, and also, again, like if this was done today, this wouldn't fly.
No. Well, you could do it today, but you definitely have to do it a lot differently, right?
Hmm.
I think there's
Like,
some
and
things
I
about it that
get,
would go well, especially with like Sam trying to, you know,
yeah,
show
like
how pointless the beauty pageant stuff is, but then like
yeah, like I think
the
if she
lesson at the
wasn't
end
a
of
part
it's
of it
kind of
at all, I think it's like if she wasn't a part of it at all, and she still would have won, it probably could have worked a bit better. But at the same time, it just felt like I don't know. Something about this episode just doesn't vibe with me,
fair,
but maybe
very
just
fair.
me.
I bet also probably doesn't help that it's Butch Hartman with this kind of
Yeah.
episode as well.
I mean, let's be honest. Butch Hartman is kind of like is kind of like this weird thing you need to kind of ignore when you're watching Danny Phantom again. Let's be
I mean,
honest, just in
acknowledge it and
general.
then say, well, at least like, the show might be his creation, but like there's a lot of other good people that worked on this show that deserve like
Season Again, season three just keeps looming in the background, and
yeah.
will
Just
well,
there.
and
Hello.
mhm,
Just waiting. We'll
just
get to
waiting.
you.
We'll get to
Uh.
you in 2 weeks because we are covering something else next week. But regardless, well. Anyway, and it's weird enough though that Beauty Monk there I'm kind of like about, and then it's followed by a very similar episode, which I also think is kind of meh.
Yeah, like it's nice that Sam and Tucker both get, episodes, right, to like do a little bit more of their own thing, but
Mm,
I guess like Sam's not a villain in this episode, right? But
no.
it focuses on her in a weird way, and then the next one is just Tucker being a villain, and it's like I get what they're going for, but it's still compared to some of the other episodes we've had and other episodes that give Sam and Tucker more of a focus, right? There's been better
Also,
by this point, I think.
With King Talk, I just want to say there's the point where so Danny and Sam are kind of marketing Tucker to for like the next what's the election for again? Council president.
Yes,
Yeah,
council, student council,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And the thing is, I just love the fact that they think that it's a good thing. It's a good tagline to use. You can spell fully without an F. Like, how much of a dumbass do you need to be in order to think this is an okay tagline to advertise your friend? Honestly, I think part of the reason that the episode doesn't work is because I'm kind of with Tucker. Danny and Sam are kind of assholes to him throughout this. And then even the staff which is supposed to obey him is an asshole by the end.
Yeah, but I mean, like that's what Tucker gets for being the third wheel.
I guess so. Like, eh, I guess any kind of character sometimes gets the short end of the stick. And speaking of short ends of the stick, masters of all time. I like this episode.
No, this
I
one's really
really.
good. This one's actually really fun seeing like it get changed up where Vlad and Danny's mom get together and Jack has the other, like he's the one who becomes the half ghost, right? Like Vlad originally did.
Yeah, so I really enjoy this. I really enjoy this one, especially because I just find the premise really interesting. That okay, for one, you start with Danny's parents just humiliating him in public. Okay, we're used to it. Fair enough. We've been in this territory, and then Vlad shows up. It's like okay, interesting direction, and then Vlad actually goes. Actually, just shows the actor acne is back. I need your help, and it's like, whoa, okay. And then he infects Sam and Tucker with it, which is also like, oh shit, what's going on? And like it just keeps building up and up throughout the episode itself, and I think it lives up to the potential.
Yeah. I think the only thing I did kind of disliked about it is they just kind of went back to the same well of like, well, Vlad's evil, so even in this new universe, he's still evil. Yeah, let's go.
Yeah, I guess he's just kind of an asshole the whole time. Yeah, that's kind of
Yeah.
like. eh. But I mean, I guess we got another on-screen death in this show.
Mm, I guess.
You can tell me he's not dead. It is kind of a badass moment though when Maddie just goes, "Consider this a divorce," and she throws him into the ghost zone without an it's like, well, fuck.
Addie's hard. Don't mess
Yeah,
with her.
you know something. You know something. Fan fiction writers come up with what happened after in this universe after Maddie sends Danny back to Clockwork.
Fan fiction writers.
Come up with a plot after this. I want to read that. What do you guys got? I
The sh-
want to know the repercussions of a woman potentially murdering her husband, and
the
nobody
show
asks
the
about that.
show that's over 12 years old or 12 years old now.
I don't care.
They're definitely gonna write that.
Do it. I want to see what they come up with.
HC has demanded you must deliver.
No, you don't have to, but
No,
if
you
you did,
have to.
link it to me. I need to see that. But also, I enjoy. It's nice seeing Clockwork again. He's not used as much in this one, but it's cool to have him
I
back.
think
And
we don't see him at all in season 3, do we?
nope.
Yeah, so like this is his last episode if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, well, we are in a post glitch in time world, so he's back in that, but we're not there yet.
Mm.
So with that being said, I do enjoy the idea of Jack being a half ghost, and despite the powers, there's the point where Danny says where his aim still sucks because Danny even points out he aims like that. It's like fuck you, Danny. So anything else to say about this one?
No, it's just like it's a fun it's another like good episode, right? Like it's one of the stronger ones, I think.
Yeah.
It's a
So
nice
moving on.
change up to see the differences and everything. And as you said, we get Clockwork back, so I'm not complaining.
Mhm. So next up, we have Kindred Spirits, which ironically enough is supposed to be the finale of the season, but
But it's not.
it shows up now. So sure.
Thank you, Nickelodeon, once again. You can't
Yeah,
do shit right.
I have no idea why in the hell because technically the reality trip movie is supposed to be now, but
I
apparently
think it's I think a lot of it had to do with like timing, like some things weren't done or something,
timing or marketing, I
or
have
the
no
way
idea.
Nickelodeon wanted to air it, which is weird. I don't know. It's Nickelodeon. Like it's especially Nickelodeon back during that era where like they were still popular and like avatars like really boosted them and they're like, "Yeah, we can do anything. We don't make mistakes. We're smart. We got this shit." What are you doing, Nickelodeon? You're airing this shit in like all the wrong orders. Cancel it. It's not doing well. Maybe if you'd air the episodes in the right order, Nickelodeon.
Hmm.
It's
I have no idea.
it's that weird early 2000s for Nickelodeon where they have no fucking clue what they're doing, but they want you to desperately think they do. Look, it's Avatar. Don't pay attention to us fucking up again.
Hmm. Just ignore it. Just ignore it.
I swear they bring up whenever they need to like just to have people not pay attention to them doing really shit. They just bring out Avatar again. Just wheel it back out. That's why you're getting a new Avatar
So
series.
yeah, something that's a good. I'm not sure. Did they ever air something out of continuity with Avatar?
I don't
I
think
never.
so. I think Avatar has been the one show they're like they can't do that with really because if you do that, you just
Because that
completely fuck it.
mm, even though again season three looms again, they do something pretty off with that with airing episode there, from what I know.
Mm.
So, but regardless, anyway, so it's here now according to the Wikipedia order. Let's just go with it. Kindred Spirits. Love this episode.
Yeah, you
Really.
get to meet Danny's cousin, quote unquote.
You know,
Danny.
funnily enough, I saw internet. I had internet before I saw this episode.
Hmm.
I thought it was fan art.
I can understand why.
Totally thought it's fan art, I'm sorry, but having actually seen the episode, Danielle is cool. I like the design. I like the idea. I think again really intriguing plot, and I also think this is
Hmm.
one of Vlad's best appearances in the show. Like I
Yes.
love it when he shows up at Amity Park, and then he's like, "Aren't you at least going to make a joke about my dad or trying to come up to my mom?" And he goes, "No, dear boy, funny Joker on Vlad isn't here today." It's like the performance is so good. Like Vlad is a great villain.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with you. Like especially in this one, like he's utilized so well, and they don't. He's not played as for up as for last as much in this one. It's a little bit more serious. Like it's really good in this one. I think a very strong episode, and it just works well with getting to see Danny Dani, instead of with a Y this time around, like his cousin, and getting to see her do her stuff and everything, and she's really fun, like really good.
Hmm. Yep. And again, I do like the idea of we did this before that apparently Danny doesn't appreciate Sam and Tucker enough, but I think this is done well enough here. Like again, we saw
It
it
doesn't.
before.
We've done it before, but it doesn't feel like okay. This is such a bad rehash, right? Like like this feels like okay, yeah, we've done this before, but it doesn't great. It's not like, oh my god, we've done this before. This is a yeah, we've done this before, but it's all right. Like it's a good rendition this time,
Mhm.
if that makes
Though to
sense.
be, I do like in the flashbacks where they point out to him, "Hey, you've been treating us like a sidekicks. You just see them chasing Skulker around to steal money. Why does Skulker need to steal money? I'm interested. Like, why? Why does he need money? I'm
He's
interested
gotta
in.
pay that debt, man. What debt?
I
Don't
guess,
ask.
I guess so. He's dead. He's a ghost. But so why? But I don't know. I found it
Ghost debt.
funny. So okay, that's fair enough. But otherwise, I enjoy that they do show that they can work together, and at the end of the day, they do save both Danny's.
Mhm.
And I just love the point where they assess to Lancer to try and get out of detention, and Tucker just feels the need to call him an old man. That's fucking hilarious. Skipping detention, that's small potatoes. Calling him an old man, no, 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 no. This is where they get in trouble.
Yep.
So, and
Moving
other than that,
on.
no, wait. Two
Oh,
things
wait,
to say.
wait.
I just enjoyed that. At the end, when Danny uses the ghostly well again to destroy the lab,
Oh yeah.
really cool.
Yep.
Especially because Vlad doesn't have the ghostly well, so it's a one power that Danny has that he doesn't, and it's a
Mm.
really cool way to one up him. And also, I enjoy that Vlad has like a Maddie hologram to basically suck him off and make him feel loved. And then when the love has been destroyed, she just goes, "And I never loved you. I loved the Jack program." And there's just a Jack hologram walking into the frame, going, "Vladdy," and kisses him. Like,
It's just
yeah, like damn, like even his holograms cock block him. Like god damn.
poor Vlad.
Mhm.
Moving right along though.
So,
Episode 18.
episode 18, double cross my heart.
I think this one was supposed to technically air after Reality Trip, right?
Yeah,
Which is also kind of weird, I think, because I feel
yeah,
like this one is better set before Reality Trip. Like this is the one time where I would agree with Nickelodeon, oddly enough.
I mean, it can work either way to me. I
It
don't
can,
know.
but I think it does go better being before Reality Trip. Like it, but I get what you mean. Like it can go either way. It's not bad in either regard. It's still kind of like a bit of a meh episode. Like there's not much for it or anything. It's just more set up for Sam and Danny later at some point. Maybe one day, who knows? You'll get it.
Yeah. Well, but again, in terms of this episode, I have to say, in terms of stuff that doesn't work today, and maybe it's just me, but having an actual Hungarian friend, I think the accent is a bit too good. If from my recollection, anyway.
Hmm, I mean, I guess that's a good thing? Question mark.
Yeah, but I also don't know. Considering he's faking it.
I
This
don't
is the
think
point where I don't know. Like something about it. Maybe again, maybe it's because I have an Hungarian friend now. It's gonna feels like, wait, what?
that's
What are
fair.
you doing?
I don't think people mind too much. Even
Yeah,
nowadays, I don't think people mind too much with accents so long as they're like good enough or decent enough,
I
right?
guess. I guess so. I think it's because it's just so
It's not the same thing of like a British person coming in and doing like an American "Hello there, partner,"
yeah.
that sort of thing. Like we've seen that before, and people make fun of that, right?
Mhm.
Or like insert English person here trying to do like insert Asian accent or insert other, Eastern European accent that they really can't do and shouldn't be doing, and you probably should have just gotten a person in there. Like
I
I
guess
do
so.
get you, right? I think like we're moving to a time where like if you need this kind of accent, get an actor from there, right? I think we're moving more and more towards that, which we should be, to be fair.
No, I think it's because again the guy is. But to be honest, though, the guy in canon is also faking it.
Mm. No, fair enough.
So I guess that's a fair enough assessment to just be like, hey.
I get where you're coming from. I get it.
Mm. But overall, I kind of enjoyed this episode. Like, it's
It's
fine, I
fine.
suppose. The thing is though, obviously it's supposed to kind of set up more of that Danny now has feelings for Sam.
Yep.
But I guess
That's pretty much what it's for.
if this is the point of it, it works well enough.
As said, it is fine.
Also, yeah, the Gregor is totally Danny Phantom, guys in white. The hairstyle looks exactly the same.
Mm-hmm.
Totally.
Mm-hmm.
People in superhero shows can be really dumb.
I mean, they kind of have to be a little bit.
Hmm. But this is like to the point of really, really white hair. There you go. That's it. That's all we do. Oh well, what can you? That's just me
It's
rolling around
close
with the
enough.
joke.
That's all you need.
Well, besides that,
Were
nothing much
there?
else to say about this one. But
Yeah, no.
I guess it's a nice shipping episode, I suppose.
Mm, I guess.
Maybe. But now we are on to the final episode of the season, and the third TV movie, Reality Trip. That's a good one.
The second, I would say definitely like the second best episode or two-parter of the season. I think Ultimate Enemy takes it for like best episode of the season, but I think this one is a close second. It's between this one and Kindred Spirits for like a close second, right? I feel.
Yeah. Hmm. And I enjoy this one. I also enjoy this one a lot. It's creative. It's fun. Freak Show gets to be a ham, and he's doing great at it.
You get the
Uh,
Marvel Infinity Gauntlet, cough cough.
yeah, like years before this concept was even popular in the movies, like comic book fans obviously know about it.
I
But
think yeah. You get the Infinity
and
Stones, cough cough.
yeah, and I also enjoyed the fact that what, this was a really a kind of a shock moment where suddenly at the start of it, Danny's identity is just revealed, and people are like, "Oh shit!"
Mm. But no, it makes for some
Like
fun stuff though
Spider-Man No
because
Way
you get to see
Home,
how
tough stuff.
characters react to that. Like you get Jazz calling out Danny's parents, like, "Why wouldn't Danny tell us this? We would have accepted him." And then she's like, "Oh, I wonder why. I'm gonna kill him. I'm gonna like rip him to shreds," and all the stuff they end up
Yeah.
saying to him. It's like maybe that's why he didn't tell you, and
But I
they
also like.
actually feel bad.
Yeah, and then I also enjoy the point where we can discover that Sam's parents don't really like Danny's parents all that much. I think
At all.
yeah, it was also shown, in the season one finale, ironically enough. But I also find it enjoyable that there's the point where we knew your son is you knew your son was suspicious. He's a half ghost, and Jack goes, "Oh, I'm sure your daughter had something to do with it." Ironically, he's right.
Yeah. For once in
Ironically,
his life, Jack is right, and he
hmm
doesn't even know it.
yeah. So, but again, overall, I think this episode had a lot of stakes to it. Even if you know that everything is gonna get reset because status quo and everything, I still really enjoy it because
Yeah.
there's a lot of creativity in there. There's a lot of fun moments. Each character get a moment to shine. Like I said, Freak Show is a good villain for this, and I
It's
also
also not
love.
been overused at this point. Like we've not seen Freak Show. We've only seen Freak Show like once, but by this point, I think, right?
Only once, yeah.
Yeah. So like, it's a great villain to bring back because we've only seen him once. Like he's not been overused like others have. It's really strong. Like it's a good season ending two parter that for Freak Show to say like, all right, well we're done with this villain. We won't be bringing him back anymore.
Yep. And Other than that, I just again just that's a kind of an annoying thing though about this that when something is good, you can't really talk too much about it. You just say, "Yeah, it's great." Moving on.
Again, I
But
I go back to this like I hate that we do the reset stuff because it's an episodic show, but I do get it. But that's always going to be my issue, my personal issue with it. Like, I just
especially
dislike
with
episodic
this,
stuff.
like especially with this, because considering how season three ends and kind of like how what plans they had for season four, we'll talk about this later. Just let everyone know Danny's secret. What's the big, you can still have interesting stories with that idea.
But I will say, this is about the time I stopped watching Danny Phantom. To be honest, like I kind of like I don't want to necessarily say grew out of it, but I definitely around this time like my interest waned and I moved on to other things and never
Which is
really
fair.
moved on to season 3. So this will be
Well,
interesting for me going into season 3 and because I get to kind of watch it for the first time. I think I've seen like an episode or two here or there of season 3 of Danny Phantom, but never really watched the full thing.
this would be next time would be interesting then because oh boy, do things are gonna be interesting for
I,
season
I
three?
have
Like
heard things. I'll say that.
that's the thing though. I've watched it. When it came out, I watched it a few other things beforehand. I like afterwards. I am completely aware I'm completely aware of everything that people say about it, and do I agree with it or not? We'll get there, but but I'm sorry about that. That's what I about to say. Yeah, things are going to get interesting, and I think because one of the things that happened between seasons two and three, one of the key people behind Danny Phantom actually left the show.
Mm. And I believe that was who was it that left? I
Creative
forget.
difference.
Yes, it was creative differences. Yeah, like, a lot of that was I believe kind of because of Butch Hartman. And was it around that time that stuff started coming out about him, or is that much later on?
It's later on, but let's say this is like the stuff where it's like, in retrospect, things are clear enough.
Yeah, in retrospect, like things make a lot more sense now. Yeah.
Mhm. Because it's like, I think it's after this point where, like, suddenly Butch Hartman started going with the idea, oh, the ghosts aren't, the spirits of dead people. They're just creatures living in an alternate world that's kind of parallel to Earth. And that's a big thing in season three.
Mm.
So. Yeah, so this is a thing, and also because season three is a lot less dark, I guess you could say, and one of the other I forgot his name, but the other key member wanted to make it darker, and that didn't go according to plan. So we'll
Mm.
get to season three. Believe us, we'll get there.
Yeah, be fun or not. We'll see.
It will be interesting to discuss.
Yeah.
We'll say that much. So that's anything else to say about season two, though? Besides, it's a
It
good
was
season.
yeah. I think season two's like it was nice to go back to it. Right. It it's
Mhm.
still like I still dislike the episodic nature. I would have loved to have seen a Danny Phantom, right, that wasn't episodic, that was more story and character driven, but it's still fun. There's still a lot of good stuff here that's worth going back to watch, right? If you've never seen it or heard of it before.
Agreed.
And if you want to stop at season 2, just pause, a reality trip before Danny resets everything again. And that's your season ending, and you'll love it and enjoy it.
Fair enough. Well, either way, I think there are some points in season three that I want to watch, but we'll get there when we get there. So that was it for this episode of the Outcast. We hope you enjoyed it. What did you think about Danny Phantom season two? You can tell us all about it in the comment section below, on our Tumblr, which is Berkcast Team, and on our Twitter, which is Berkcast with a capital B, capital C. So until the next episode, I was HC.
I was Wolf.
And we will see you all next time. Take care.
Bye bye.